Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. And welcome to another edition of the ODPH Wrestling Recap. I am your host, Ken M., and I'm in the studio by myself here. But fear not, folks. I have a co-host that's going to tag along, give you the breakdown of the WWE Money in the Bank and all things involved with it. And then later in the show, we got Jonny Moose from Xcite Wrestling calling in on his way to a Dave Matthews Band concert. He's going to be talking Xcite United, which is going on this Friday, June 29th at the American Legion Post 80, live on Twitch if you have that, if you can't make the show. But first and foremost, we have the one and only Vinny calling into the show. Vin, what's going on, brother?
Not much, Ken. How's everything going there?
Oh, I tell you what, it's been one thing with the technical difficulties, but I think we have it worked out. We're, the studio, we're not the big budget production that some people think, but we finally have it going. But Vin, there was a big wrestling event that happened this past month. We got to recap it. Money in the Bank.
Always a great pay-per-view, ups and downs, some great matches, some disappointments, but always entertaining.
So what was your takeaway from this year's Money in the Bank?
I liked the women's Money in the Bank match.
I did too.
I thought there was a lot of good storytelling, a lot of action. I liked Alexa Bliss winning it, cashing in that night. Made a lot of sense to me.
I agree.
Because it got the belt back to her, but it didn't destroy Ronda Rousey or anything like that with her momentum.
Yeah,
not letting her win the title.
I agree with you. I think if it turned out that the original, I think the big internet, theory was going to be Natalya was going to win and then do the turn on Rousey after she, won to cash in. I'm very happy we didn't see that. I mean, my prediction on the show was I thought Ember Moon was going to win because I thought, why not? I think it'd be a great thing to build her storyline up, and then eventually, I'd love to see her have a rematch with Asuka. I know they're on different brands right now, but you never know what's going to happen down the road. But I thought the match was great, and Alexa winning, I thought was really, really good.
Yeah, it kind of threw me at first because like you, I thought that Natalya was going to win and then challenge Rousey for it. And I'm glad that it went another way because I'm glad Ronda didn't win it.
Yeah, me too. It's just way too soon.
Way too much, way too soon.
Fully agree.
Kind of like Swagger a few years ago.
Yeah.
It just destroyed the guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, especially in Ronda's case, because everybody's watching her right now. And, because, she's coming in from the UFC. She's got, the Hollywood profile, so to speak. And everybody's just expecting, it's a matter of time. Well, if she just walks in the door and she still is very green at the style of pro wrestling, not to say she's not going to pick it up, because the one thing that I know I've talked with a few other people about, she reminds me when Kurt Angle came in.
Yes.
And it's just going to be a matter of time because she's picking it up really quickly. So it's not to say down the road, in a few months maybe, I'd say Survivor Series time, I wouldn't mind seeing her, actually cash in and win the title. But I think right now it would have been way too soon.
I agree. I think if you would have put the title on her, you would have gotten the Lesnar effect because she's not there every week. She's not going to be there defending. And Alexa Bliss can draw and she can go. So
she can draw and she can talk too. She is one of the best on the mic, male or female. So it only makes sense.
Exactly.
So
and now she can go back and renew the rivalry with Nia Jax.
Yeah, and I think that's
go from there.
I think that's a good move too because Nia, I think she got the belt at Mania and she really didn't have a good run with it this time around. But I think if they can build up the storyline again too, she's definitely a future champion again. And the sky's the limit too. And I think that she showed that. Especially working with Rousey, they could definitely main event the shows no matter what night they're on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think
I think it shows that that Nia can go with somebody smaller than her like Ronda, and then Ronda's first singles match, she actually did surprisingly well.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think it's just a matter of time till she just like I said reminds me of Angle, just how quick she picks it up, and it's just going to be a matter of time. It's going to be fun to watch, but it's like we said, it's just too much too soon. And I think that Alexa winning, how she did, it was just perfect. And that now, there's some different storylines they can go with. And, Ronda does not need to be kind of thrown in the title picture per se right now.
Exactly. Now she can, if she comes back in a month after her suspension, she can go whatever she has to do, whether it's back with Natalya and do like a tag team, or maybe sneak her way into the title picture. The sky's the limit for her right now.
Oh, I agree. There's so many different directions you can go. And I know that I think it was Becky Lynch, she's been mentioning about doing a women's tag team division. And I think that would be a great thing for her. You pair her with Natalya. I think they were kind of teasing it a little bit with Naomi and Lana on SmackDown this week. But there are enough, great female wrestlers that could definitely make that division into something special if they decide to go that route.
And I think if they do, they got to unify the SmackDown and the Raw women's title.
Well, you know what I'd like to see if they do the tag team division. I'd like to see this on the men's side too. I would like to see them actually work all three brands, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, and just have it be a traveling title. You don't have to keep on one show, but you can definitely make some really great matchups from all the talented rosters there. I think
the tag teams down in NXT are what going to be what holds together the tag team division.
Oh, absolutely. Because right now it's kind of like in a little state of flux. As we saw, the champions are in Raw is Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt as we're recording, and on SmackDown it's the Bludgeon Brothers of Harper and Rowan.
Right.
And it's just kind of it was kind of like a weird choice. I know we're kind of getting off the task of Money in the Bank, but kind of seeing Daniel Bryan get repaired with Kane for Team Hell No to come back out of nowhere, no pun intended. It's just you have so many talented teams on your roster right now to kind of bring back an older team that had its run. Kind of an interesting choice, but I could understand too if they really want to, I guess get some more eyes on the division and kind of give a shakeup to it. I could understand that.
Yeah, and in this day and age, I don't like when they just piece together a tag team like they are doing with Bray and Matt.
Yeah, well, I think they're set up for the eventual turn for Bray. Bray is too good to, have in a tag team division. I think he's a star on the singles side, and I think that if they just let him go and reform the Wyatt family, I don't know, you don't need to pair him with Harper and Rowan because I think both of those guys, especially Harper, needs a good singles run. I think he's long overdue for that.
I do too.
Yeah, and just to kind of see, just when they're pairing, if they don't have anything going on, you take a look, I think the best example in recent years has been the New Age Outlaws when they had nothing for anybody and just paired them together. And they could run with it. You're not going to have that all the time, but it's not a bad idea to do. And I think that, moving forward with it, there's a lot of potential to do, and especially if they decide to do the women's tag team division, I think that's a great idea, and I think they should. You can do it on both.
I do too.
You can do it on brands, but you can definitely mix it up, especially like I say, they definitely showed at Money in the Bank. I think that was the best match of the night was the women's ladders match. And, it's, like I said, they have so much talent on there. They definitely got to expand the divisions and make more champions, in my opinion. But going back to Money in the Bank, though, the men's Money in the Bank winner was Braun Strowman. What was your thoughts on that?
I don't like it. I get it, but I don't like it because Braun doesn't need the Money in the Bank.
I agree.
To go for that.
I agree.
It's just a waste, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I said on the show prior, it's like I was, expecting him to win, but I was like, does he really need it? I guess for storyline purpose, sure, but also at the same token, it's nothing that, he really definitely needed. Because I think eventually he's going to get the belt this year. I think that is arguably the most guaranteed. Yeah. Unless something crazy happens like an injury or something in that variation. But at least this can give him a chance to cash in. My guess would be at SummerSlam. I think that he comes in at the end of whatever match Brock is involved in. I think he takes the belt from whoever wins that match. Now, my guess is I have an odd feeling it's going to be Seth Rollins versus Brock for the title at SummerSlam.
That's what I have a feeling of.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me if you know, but I don't think since his title run now or his return, Lesnar has ever been pinned or submitted to lose the championship. Because when he lost it at WrestleMania, Rollins pinned Reigns. And I don't remember if if he held it another time in between losing it and then gaining it this time, and how he lost it.
Boy, that's a good point, Vin. And honestly, like, he's had the belt for so long, like, I honestly have forgotten how he got it back.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't remember who he beat the second time to get it off the top of my head.
But, I mean, that's the thing. With Brocky, you just know he's synonymous with the title. And plus, he's not on TV every week, so you kind of... Not that you would forget about him, because you can't forget a character like Brock Lesnar. There's just no chance. Right. But it's just one of those...
And you're not gonna...
Oh, no, absolutely not. So when he's deciding to come back, and I know it, and his name is always getting thrown of, oh, maybe he's going back to the UFC. Until he does, it's kind of all speculation. There's a lot more going on with that than, we're going to comment about.
And I think they would have been better off putting it on somebody like Samoa Joe, like even Finn Balor, yes, but I would have rather seen it if Finn Balor's going to win it in the Demon.
I mean, I know he hasn't been doing that lately. I think he's kind of really trying to space that out to make it more special when he does the Demon paint job.
Right. And if he came out as the Demon, you would have known he was going to win it.
Yeah, or at least you would have thought, I mean, that would have been the big idea, but I think it would have been an eventual swerve for that. Which, I mean, I'm okay with. I think Finn is definitely worthy of getting a run with it, but I wouldn't mind seeing him contend for the IC for a little bit. Like, I mean, honestly, my perfect feud right now would be him versus Dolph Ziggler for the belt. Because I think it's just a matter of time, even though Drew McIntyre has now came back from injury, and dare I say, he's stealing the show when he's on, more so than Dolph right now. I mean, I love their pairing up right now.
I do too, and I think that there's a lot of guys on the roster that have been there much longer than Drew McIntyre that could learn a lot from him and his mic skills.
100% agreed. 100%. Drew is he's just come back as the total package, so to speak. Not like Lex Luger, but he can talk, and the ring work has been great too.
Yep, it's, you could put him right back into any of the title pictures and he would fit in.
Absolutely. And I think that he's definitely due for it. I mean, the one cool thing about Raw right now is it's kind of wide open for the Intercontinental title. I think that we haven't really seen a deep division for that, so to speak. And what I mean by that is there's just so many contenders that, you don't think, okay, they're going to be fighting Lesnar anytime soon. Well, obviously the next belt that, as a contender you would go for is the IC title. And there's so many now on Raw that could go for it. It gives it a little more prestige to it, in my opinion. Because I thought Seth Rollins' run was great. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Vin. What were you saying?
No, that's okay. No, nothing. Go ahead.
No, I think that Seth's run definitely elevated a little bit. Like, I always like it when the champions do the open challenges. I know when Cena did it for the U.S. title, I thought it was a great idea. And, whenever you're doing something like that, kind of gives the, suspense level to it, like, oh, you can beat at any time. And I thought when Dolph cashed in and beat Rollins, I thought that was a great swerve because a lot of people I don't think were expecting it. Now,
right, no one was, yeah.
Yeah, right now it's like it's kind of open air to who can get it. And like I said, I think Balor would be a great addition for that belt.
If I would have chosen, like I said, either Samoa Joe, I would have even thrown The Miz in there to win the Money in the Bank.
I was actually surprised they didn't let somebody from SmackDown win the Money in the Bank. I was really surprised.
Raw is so loaded with guys that all of a sudden you had Strowman win it, and the next night they're saying, we're going to have a multi-man match to figure out the number one contender. And now that's scrapped. Raw has been just so disappointing lately on so many levels.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's been kind of in a weird, I don't want to say transition time, but I think that they're maybe looking too further down the road for what they really want to go with storylines, and like right now they're kind of just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it sticks. Like right now, I'm glad they got rid of the whole Bobby Lashley, Sami Zayn thing. I know Sami is injured and he's going to be out for, I believe, the rest of the year, if I'm not mistaken, if I was reading correctly.
Yeah, I could, like, early to mid next year.
Yeah, like he's out for a while.
Rotator cuffs.
But that was just such an awful feud written for Lashley versus him. And that now, I do like the setup of Lashley versus Reigns, because at least it kind of keeps Roman out of the title picture for right now.
Exactly.
And, I mean, I think it can only help elevate Lashley. I mean, like I said, this week, thankfully, the Revival got a win on TV. And
yes, over them, yeah.
Yeah, and they beat them, so they can kind of build that feud up. I don't know. I would imagine they're going to have their match at Extreme Rules and just build for that. Like, I think the longer you keep Roman out of the title picture and elevate some other stars up there, I think is a good thing. Because if you take a look in comparison, on SmackDown, Rusev now finally finally has a title shot, which only makes sense.
Exactly. He's been the most over guy on SmackDown for a year.
And I mean, especially he finally got a high-profile match by being in the Money in the Bank match.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
I mean, looking at the roster they had in there, I mean, Samoa Joe was in there, Miz, and Rusev was representing, and Kofi Kingston, who turned out to be the mystery member of New Day that was in the match.
Yeah, which I would have thought it would have been Big E if that was my booking.
I thought it would have been too, but you know what? I think the Kofi swerve, because I don't think anybody was expecting it, I think really worked well. And, I mean, Kofi has been in Money in the Banks before, so it's kind of not a second hand, but I think when you have somebody that's been a veteran in there, it can only help the match out. I mean, he definitely is always creative in his styling. So it only benefits for that. So, and looking at it, like I said, any one of those guys I think should have won the briefcase. I don't think Braun really needed it. But moving forward with it, I mean, SmackDown is just so loaded right now with talent. And I think they're finally done with the AJ Nakamura feud, which is good. I mean, it's kind of ran its course. I mean, I think it was a little disappointing, I guess, for me.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, seeing their work over in New Japan and then seeing over here, just, I don't know, I kind of felt like the WWE was a letdown for it, you know, the feud and the matches.
And I'm wondering if at some point Vince or somebody kind of said, listen, I need you to tone it down. I can't have you doing the spots like you did in New Japan.
Maybe.
Just tone it down and kind of hamstrung them as to what they could and couldn't do.
Well, possibly. I mean, it's just a different, you know, physical style that I think Nakamura is used to. I mean, like, you know, he's the king of strong style. So it's just it's just a matter of, you know how they kind of wrestled over here. I just did not like the whole repeated battle of the nut shots. I just didn't see any.
I didn't get that whole thing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I understand they're trying to make Nakamura a heel, and I get that. And I think he was getting over on his own without having to do that every match. Like, when that becomes like part of your, you know, offense, I'm not saying it just didn't click. I mean, for me, being a fan, I can't buy into that.
Yeah, and the other thing that they repeated was during the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Nakamura did it, and I forget the other match, but it was towards the end where the person that eventually won it, like AJ, looked at Nakamura and he motioned for him to bring it on, and then AJ, you know, knocked him down or whatever, pinned Nakamura, and then they did it a match or two later. I was like, you did the same ending twice.
Yeah.
Where the loser actually motioned for the other guy to come after him and bring it on. They hit him with one move and then pinned him. I was like, repeating finishes or repeating endings or things like that is what drives me nuts with the WWE.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, it just, I don't know. I guess when I see like two talented guys such as AJ and Nakamura, and they're getting put in a feud, I'm like, the expectation level is high. And I guess just for like, you know, as we're talking about, just a repeated finish in the same way of the, you know, the dueling nut shots, like, really, like, stop. It's just like, no, this is not going to get over with anybody. It's
like they phoned it in.
Yeah, I wouldn't say phoned it in, but it's just kind of like, I think they were trying to do a different type of storytelling, which I get, and I can respect that. But at the same token, I'm just like, oh, I don't know. You know, for me, it just really did not resonate, and I just can't really, you know, get behind it. And I'm kind of hoping, okay, if you're going to redo the feud down the road, do it down the road, but, you know, definitely mix it up, because you have enough talent now on SmackDown. You can definitely run with it.
But then you look over at NXT and look what they can do.
Well, yeah. Well, NXT, I think they're...
And that's just the booking, like the matches and everything.
Yeah, I think in that case, Vin, it's just one of those situations where those guys are out there to prove that they should be on the main stage every night. And there's and the only other top feud in wrestling that you can compare to Ciampa and Gargano has been what's going on with Kenny Omega, the Golden Lovers, the Elite, and the whole Bullet Club right now. But Gargano and Ciampa has been just straight money for the entire run. And just now there's one more match they got to do, and I don't know how they're going to top it. I honestly don't.
Yeah, I mean, my nephew was in town that weekend, and he's, you know, once in a while he'll watch it, even when he was younger. And he walked in during the Gargano match, and I said, yo, you just got to sit and watch this. And the last 15 minutes, when he jumped off, like, the speakers through the table, I looked over, and my nephew's 20 years old, and his jaw was on the ground.
Yeah, that is the one you want to. If you want to get people into wrestling right now, that's the feud you show them.
That's what I told him. I go, if you want to watch any match, this is the one you do.
Oh, 100%. So, Vin, as we're looking forward, What do you think is going to be kind of some storylines going into SummerSlam?
It's hard for me to say, but I'd like to see Rollins Lesnar.
Yeah, I would too. That's on the wish list right now.
I don't know as far as like the SmackDown. Will Rusev still be in it? Will he be the champion? I'd like to see Rusev get the championship at SmackDown.
I would like to see it too. I have a feeling though they're going to set up for AJ and Miz after this. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me why. I think they're going to set up for that where Miz does get the belt. I got a weird feeling he's going to pull off the win at SummerSlam.
You think they go with Miz and
D-Bry?
I could see that going that way too.
Yeah, I think before year's end you're going to see that feud finally start taking off again.
But you know what I would really like to see?
What's that?
If you want to turn Reigns, move D-Bry to Raw and let Reigns attack him his first night.
I'm kind of torn with that because I think over on SmackDown, I mean, just looking at the rosters they have there, we got Daniel Bryan, you got AJ, you got Samoa Joe, you got Rusev, you got Cesaro and Sheamus who are not doing anything right now. You have such a talent, wrestling based over there that, I'd worry that if he came back over to Raw, he'd get lost in the shuffle. I really do. I think that there's so many emerging stars, like we said about Ziggler and McIntyre and Rollins. And I mean, even if you want to take to a lesser extent, Elias has really come on late, just the crowd reaction to him. I mean, I just would get worried that he would get lost in the shuffle over on Raw.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think that for him to step up more, he needs to be on Raw because that's the grade A show. That's the one so many more people watch, especially with his storyline.
Very true. I mean,
then you could do him and Rollins for the title at Mania, and I think that's a match that a lot of people would like to see.
It's a very good point, Vin. So before we close out, any final thoughts on Money in the Bank?
I don't really remember the other matches as much as the two Money in the Banks themselves. So.
Well, fair enough. I mean, I think what really stands out for me, I mean, Braun winning the Money in the Bank briefcase didn't really resonate so much. I thought it should have gone to SmackDown, like I said. Ronda not winning the women's title, I thought was a good move, and I love seeing I love seeing Alexa Bliss win it because I think right now she is your top female performer on both shows. So it only makes sense to give her the belt and let her run with it. Even though I was kind of very puzzled about the whole Asuka Carmella feud. I mean, bringing Ellsworth back was definitely interesting, but it definitely kind of, I don't know. For Asuka, I think that, since she's been called up, they really got to find a good program for her. I personally...
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me either.
No, it didn't. And personally, I'd like to see her in a feud with Becky Lynch. I think let them get some time. Like, they're finally having the payoff with Sasha and Bayley over on Raw, and I'd love to see if Bayley actually can turn heel. On SmackDown, I'd like to see maybe if you send Becky as a heel. And I know it'd be completely left field, but let her run with it, and I definitely think that she could hang with Asuka, and they could put on some great matches together.
Yeah, because you're not going to turn Asuka heel.
No, Asuka is just... No, she's just a force of nature.
Believe that.
Yeah, and plus, if she's face or heel, I mean, she's still going to be the same character, which is awesome. And you know what? Everybody's just in awe of the skill set she brings. So you know what? I think trying to give Becky something like that, I think would be a nice shot in the arm and see what happens. And then, I mean, looking at the rest of the matches, I mean, the Seth Rollins, I mean, obviously he's arguably Raw's best performer right now, so I think he's definitely due for a title shot down the road.
Yeah, I do too, and I think he's been Raw's top performer for 5 years.
Absolutely. And now he's finally getting
no one that outworks him.
Vin, thank you for joining in the show this week.
My pleasure, Ken.
Definitely. We'll be talking to you later, Vin. Vinny is
joining. All right, I'll take it easy, guys. Take it easy.
All right, be good, Vin. We're going to come back, talk to Jonny Moose, and we got a little Xcite Wrestling to talk about. You're listening to the ODPH Wrestling Recap.
Hi, this is Mike C. from I Am Horror. You're listening to the ODPH, the most killer podcast on the planet.
So Xcite Wrestling returns to the American Legion this Friday night, June 29th at 8 p.m. Xcite United. We have the one and only Jonny Moose on the phone. John, what's going on?
Hey, Ken, what's happening?
Not too much. Technical difficulties are finally out of the way, so talk to us. What is going on for this Friday?
I just got a text message. This is going to sound stupid. I'm advertising the show after this show, but you can buy tickets for the show after this show this Friday, and you're going to want to be there on Friday to be able to buy tickets to the next show, because I just got told what we're doing the next show, and it's big. So we're advertising another show this Friday. Is that what you're supposed to do? Go from show to show to show to show?
Multitasking is, what it's all about. You can't go wrong with it.
Sure. This Friday, Xcite Wrestling United. We're putting on a show at the American Legion Post 76 Main Street in Binghamton, New York. We got this show on Friday. Xcite Wrestling United. Big show. We got Joey Ryan, former WWE superstar, the guy that is responsible for the coolest entry in pro wrestling, Gangrel. Although I've been told that the Legion will not let me set it on fire. I don't know where their heads are at, but apparently safety is one of them.
Really?
It's a big show. Well, they don't want me, lighting stuff on fire. They kind of don't like that.
I can see where that could be frowned upon, yeah.
And it didn't work out too well. Anyways, concept for this show, a student of mine came to me about 7-8 months ago and said, hey, there was a couple shows in Long Island that were pride shows.
Okay.
That showcase best of the LGBTQ wrestling community. And not everybody on the shows were part of that community, but they came to support and wanted to be part of those kinds of shows. And he asked me, because he's part of that community himself, if I would be willing to do a pride show here.
Okay.
And the more we talked about it, the more I really wanted to do this show, because I felt like we have a few students in part of that community and wrestlers, and I felt like, why wouldn't we do that? And why wouldn't we support this community? I support this community. I know my roster does. I know my crew does. To me, it didn't seem like something that we wouldn't, we would not do.
Right.
And I'm not as elegant as I really need to be when describing the whole basis. I wrote a little thing on the Facebook about it, and I know it wasn't coming across as I wanted it to. But the fact of the matter is, for someone like me, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you love. I don't care what race you are. I don't care where you're from. None of that stuff ever bothered me. If it bothers some people, I'm not really a big fan of that. So for me at Xcite, if we can support this community, I was all for it. Anyways, the longer we went along with it, I said, hey, listen, not only do we have people part of the LGBT community, community at Xcite, but if you look at the nationalities, we represent so much of the fabric of this country at our school, at our company, and we are truly a melting pot of what makes this country great, because I don't know if you know this, it became great again, apparently.
Some think that, yes.
I wanted to shine a light on that, and not just say, hey, we're here for the gay community. I wanted to say, hey, listen, we don't care if you're white, privileged, spoiled brats, or African American, or Puerto Rican, or Native American, gay, lesbian. It doesn't matter to us. We're one company. We're united under a giant X at Xcite. And that's where we changed the name, because I wanted to make anybody feel like if they go to this show, they don't ever have to feel like they're not welcome.
That's a great message, Moose.
I don't put it in words very well, because usually I am very self-deprecating, and it's hard for me not to try to make a joke out of something. But for me, I felt like it would be something nice to do. We keep trying to do stuff within the community, and I feel like there might be a part of the community that might not feel welcome, and I want to make sure everyone feels welcome at an Xcite show. There's really no reason to not feel welcome here. And that's kind of what the idea of the show was, and that's kind of how I put it together. And if you look, not all of our guys could make this show. Scheduling-wise was kind of tough for this show. Joe Gacy is wrestling for the CZW Heavyweight Championship. This match has been in the works for a while now, so even my heavyweight champion isn't there. This is the first show Joe Gacy's ever missed, but he wasn't going to be there. Sean Carr wasn't going to be on the card. Like Super Cena, he heals faster than any human being can.
Yeah, because originally he broke his ankle before the Nice Egg show and still wrestled the match.
Yeah, he didn't even make it to the show. He had sprained it a couple weeks earlier. I think it was the same ankle, but either way, he was just testing out the ropes before the show, and he got out of the ring. And at the Rumble Pony Stadium, the ground isn't level. They have like storm drains, and it leaves like little divots in the ground. So we had to build up one side with plyboard, and it's like a good 1.5 inches off the ground higher on that side than the other side, so everything would be level. When he got out of the ring, of course, we cover it up. We can't put the posts corner to corner with the end of the board, because if you have someone big like Brute Van Slyke hitting the ropes, you can push that post right off the board, and then we have a problem.
Yeah.
So you have to leave a couple inches on each side of the post. And what ended up happening is when he got out of the ring, he didn't see the extra plyboard there because it was covered with the mat, rolled his ankle, and literally pulled like the bone off the muscle. And it really messed up the tendons. And they told him, you don't need surgery. And honestly, what they said was that this was probably the last straw, and it looked like, based on what they could see, that it might have been a previous injury, and it was kind of like a ticking time bomb waiting to go.
Ooh, okay.
And nobody wants to hear that, hey, maybe this was for the best when you're talking about a broken ankle, but if he was lifting someone over his head and his ankle snapped,
yeah, everybody's in trouble then.
I mean, sometimes things are weird like that, where maybe it was a blessing in disguise in the fact that it wasn't as bad as they thought it was, but they were able to address it now instead of him being in the middle of, doing a moonsault off the top rope and his ankle gives out and he can't flip. There's a million bad scenarios that could happen when you think of something like that. And luckily, he healed up pretty quick. I don't know if he's going to have an opponent. We're a little late in the game, so we'll have to figure that out, in just 2 days.
This is true.
When's this airing? Is this airing tonight?
This is going to air tonight, Wednesday. This will air tonight on Wednesday, yes, as we're recording.
Yes. So 2 days away from the big one at the American Legion. So that was the concept of the show. It's a little weird because we're bringing in some new talent. We have Bob Evans and Tim Hughes, Tough Guy Inc. They're going to be in. We have Sonny Kiss, who just debuted for Lucha Underground.
Yeah, I believe Sonny's wrestling on tonight's episode as we're recording.
Yes, and then his boyfriend, Killian McMurphy, he'll be wrestling as well.
Okay.
Two talents that have been on our radar for a while, and for whatever reason I know the reason that we haven't, pulled the trigger and tried to bring them in. Honestly, it's because I have a hard time fitting all the guys that we have on the show as it is on the show. So trying to bring in new talent is tough because we're just inundated with great talent. But this was a show where, one, we can kill two birds with one stone. One, we can honor two guys that are really, really supporting the LGBTQ community in the pro wrestling business, which honestly, there really isn't as many as there should be. Mm-hmm. They were very outwardly in support of this, and of course the relationship, and they're fearless and they don't care what anybody thinks of them. And so that was important to get them on this show and have them be here, and actually a couple more that we wanted that we couldn't, everybody's booked. So, they're going to be on the show. I think they're going to blow people away. I had a conversation with Slick Wagner Brown about it. He's wrestling Sonny Kiss on the show, and I'm like, I wonder how the fans are going to take to him. And he's like, I think the fans are going to love him. And then once we have this match, they're going to be ecstatic about it. So I'm like, we're really pretty, dare I say, excited about this show.
It's a stacked card from top to bottom. So, yeah, absolutely you can be excited about the show.
Yeah, the card itself is really, really, there's sleeper cards.
Yeah.
We're coming off the stadium. It was our most stacked card. We say it's like our WrestleMania, however you want to put it. We had our most named, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's shows where it's a little bit more low-key, like this one. You know what I mean? It's a month after that one. But then they turn out to be some of our best shows.
Oh, yeah.
And, I really think bell to bell, this could be one of our best shows. And, you never know until it happens. Like, I think I said the same thing a month ago about the Rumble Ponies show. I said on paper, bell to bell, it's going to be our best show. And I don't know if it was. It was really, really good.
That was a great
but
show.
You never know, if it's going to be blow away, if it's just going to be and it was okay. We don't know. But from a card standpoint, this show is going to be really, really good. Let's start at the top. I don't even know what the top is. There's a few top matches.
Well, you got...
We already kind of talked about Sunny Kiss Wrestling Slick Wagner Brown, and that's for the Xcite Wrestling International Heavyweight Championship. I feel that one definitely steals the show with a level of intensity, and I know for a fact Sunny coming in, this is his first time here. He's really going to want to blow people away. I think that's the plan, honestly. I think they both have it in their heads that this show is everybody's playing second to them.
Right.
So we'll see. Then we have Joey Ryan, one of my personal all-time favorites, with his gorgeous dong. He's going to be teaming up with Simon Queen, and they're taking on Stockade and Rob Cook. Stockade, Rob Cook, they've been bullying Simon Queen for months now, and Joey Ryan does not like bullies. He does not like bullies. And Joey Ryan, I'll tell you what, was one of the first people to sign on to this show. I'm a little apprehensive because you don't know. When you tell somebody, hey, I'm doing a specialty show, it's for LGBTQ community, you would hope when you talk to somebody, everybody's just going to be on board.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not always the case. Now, I didn't really run into a problem, I'll be honest with you. Everybody I talked to were 100% on board. But Joey Ryan was just like, yeah, let's do this. No hesitation, no anything. He was ready to go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and honestly, I wanted his tag partner, and he's like, yeah, no, she's on her way out. And I believe she signed to the WWE a few days later. But he doesn't like bullies. We have our two biggest bullies in the company. What's going to happen? All I know is Stockade keeps telling me he's bringing a hammer with thumbtacks in it. I don't know why, but that's what he wants to do. Rob Cook is afraid that he's going to have to touch it. We'll see.
Well, it always happens with Joey Ryan. You can't avoid it. I said it always happens with Joey Ryan. You can't avoid it.
Everybody tries to avoid it, and it just doesn't happen for him.
Right.
We'll see how this goes. Another main event, which may be the last match of the show, so I guess the main event. We have Gangrel coming to be. I actually just got a text message from him about 10 minutes before I talked to you. He's ready to go. I have him coming in extra early, so even if there's a delay, knock on wood, I shouldn't even say anything like that. He's going to be there. Don't worry. It was really disappointing that he didn't make it to the Rumble Pony show. It was completely out of our hands.
Yeah, but that's Mother Nature. What are you going to do there?
Yeah, it's one of those things where the show's at 1 o'clock. His flight would have been in at 11 o'clock. He was flying into Syracuse. He would have been here before doors. Everything would have been good. The problem is they canceled his flight, said, we'll give you a flight. You'll get in at 6:30, which obviously that isn't going to work. And I was on the phone with them for like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes trying to get it fixed. And there was no fix. And then we finally found a fix at like 7:30 for an 8 o'clock flight. He wasn't even at the airport at that point, and that would have still got him in Syracuse at like 1:30, 2 o'clock. And even if we rushed him here and it was the last match on the show, maybe he would have made it. But
you'd be cutting it way too close.
If there was any delays, then I would have just blew another $300-400.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't worth. Even if he was at the airport, then it might have been a little different, but it just wasn't going to happen. So long story short, we booked him an extra early flight coming in on Friday, so barring any issues, we shouldn't have any issue there. So yeah, and we have a vampire and a werewolf, which is even better because honestly, I was nervous about both of them being outdoors in sunlight. I'm not positive that they're daywalkers, and if they exploded, it could be a problem. So we might have, we might have missed the bullet on that one.
Yeah, you want to say you dodged the bullet on that one.
Yeah, yep. Definitely. Moving down the card. Oh, and by the way, Axel Lennox is ready to kick his ass. It really is. He can't be more geared up for this. I've been asking, I think I've mentioned on the last show, he's been ready to do this match for 6 years and bothering me, and we're finally making it happen, so it should be something. Sleeper match of the show. I think I already called one a sleeper match, but Greg Excellent's going to be wrestling Alexander James.
Definitely a great match.
These two know each other very well. I believe they wrestled at Xcite. Didn't they wrestle each other at Xcite once? Maybe when,
maybe early on, like, I want to say, like, maybe a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah, I think it was the first Cody Rhodes show when the ring broke. They went on. They were the last match of the night for the Xcite title, and they were stiff as hell. Alexander James and Greg Excellent.
That's right.
They killed each other, and this one's special because both of them are winding down their time at Xcite. We'll see what happens. I know Alexander James is going into wrestling in Europe a lot,
Okay.
a lot more often than he was. So he's becoming much harder to get on shows just because he's halfway across the world at this point. That he made such an excellent first international champion because he was literally
defending it internationally,
representing the Xcite brand with that title across the world. So, and Greg Excellent, former Xcite Wrestling heavyweight champion, and he'll be sure to tell you, Xcite Wrestling heavyweight champion who has still not had a singles rematch, which is a lie. He'll tell you that, but he did wrestle the next show against Sean Carr in a tables, ladders, chairs match. But I think he was mad that it was a tables, ladders, and chairs match.
not a straight-up match.
Anyways,
Yeah.
you know, he's a little bitter. I can't tell you. We have Tough Guys Inc.
Bob Evans and Tim Hughes.
And Tim Hughes. They're journeymen. They're everywhere, man. And they're wrestling boots and lariats. You know, it's kind of like Demolition. You have the three members of Demolition. All three of them are part of the team, but you never know what two you're going to get. I believe this one will be Garrett Holiday and
Pat Sawyer. That's the ones advertised, yep.
They are going against two guys that bill themselves as being tough. So my guess is what JR would call it, slobber knocker. And we're going to see what's going to happen there. Then we have Grizzly Rodriguez taking on Lamar Hawkins. And
Okay.
what surely will be a big man's dream of two guys slugging it out.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a hard-hitting match.
Yep, and on the flip side, we have Joey Cestano, Brooklyn Joey, taking Amari McKnight.
Okay.
They'll be wrestling each other to wrap up the card. It's going to be a really, really great show.
Yeah, definitely sounds it. I mean, reading the card on paper, definitely excited for it. And I think it's a great, cause that you're doing behind it, Moose.
I hope so. I mean, like I said, I just want people to enjoy themselves. Xcite's always been, for me, a chance for people to get away, escape their day-to-day lives, just have a good time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and it's for everybody, too.
And the concept behind this, I mean, it started off as one thing. It's kind of merging into a slightly bigger thing. But to me, we're all one people, man. That's all I got.
And we want to thank Jonny Moose for joining us on the ODPH Wrestling Recap. And just to remind everybody, this Friday night, June 29th, at the American Legion Post 80, 76 Main Street, Binghamton, New York. Bell time, 8 o'clock. Tickets are still on sale. XciteWrestling.com for more information. Twitch TV if you can't make it. It's a great cause, bringing everybody together and having a good time at a wrestling show. We can't thank Jonny Moose enough for coming on the show, and I want to say thanks to Vinny for coming on the first half of the show. I am your host, Ken. Thank you, as always, for listening to the ODPH Wrestling Recap. We'll see you next time.